Alright guys, picture this. It is the holidays and you are at the airport and everybody else and their mother is also at the airport. It's crazy, it's chaotic, you're not having a good time. The line through the TSA checkpoint is like 1,000 people long and you might not make your very overbooked flight. Does that sound excruciating? I know traveling for the holidays for me personally can definitely be a bit of a pain. But luckily for me, I've developed an arsenal of credit card perks and benefits that make traveling for the holidays a little less miserable and, dare I say, a little bit fun. And so for this Q4 2024 wallet video, I've broken it down a little bit differently into the various phases of my holiday travel and the cards that I'm going to be deploying from my arsenal to make my life easier. And so before we do anything else, we've got to book those flights. And for Thanksgiving, I ended up using the Capital One Venture X $300 discount code to book round-trip flights between Washington National DCA and Boston Logan International Airport. That set us back $277.88. We're taking basic economy both ways, but going there, we will take American out of DCA, and on the return, we will fly United into Washington Dulles IAD. This seemed fairly reasonable for the Thanksgiving holiday prices, and we had to use up this travel credit anyway because our account anniversary is in the middle of December. So it was going to be used for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Now, speaking of Christmas, this is where things got a little less straightforward. At first, we wanted to use points for this because, of course, anybody who travels across the country for Christmas or any other holiday in December knows that it's going to be more expensive than pretty much any other time of the year. Well, unfortunately, the same can also be said for award flights. And rather than drain a lot of our points balances, we decided to use the money that we had already budgeted for these holiday trips for 2 of the 3 flights. And so when looking for the different flights that we needed to pay cash for, Delta happened to be the cheapest one. We booked a multi-city Washington Dulles, Seattle, Boston itinerary on Delta, and this set us back $993.88 for 2 people. Now, this wasn't completely terrible because we were able to take advantage of an offer from my American Express Blue Business Plus credit card, which was spend $500 or more on Delta gift cards and get 5,000 membership rewards points. So, seeing as we were already going to be booking Delta because it was the cheapest option, I purchased that. I got the 5,000 membership rewards points plus another 1,000 from the 2x multiplier, so 6,000 MR points for doing a whole lot of nothing, basically. And then I used that $500 digital gift card plus cash to purchase the Delta flights. And for the remaining $493.88, we used the altitude reserve for 3x points on all travel purchases. Now, obviously, we still have to get home from Boston to DC, so we ended up using Alaska miles to book American Airlines Saver Award flights. So that would cost us 4,500 miles each to fly from Boston Logan to Washington National. This was a great price. It worked out to something like 3 cents per point when we looked at the cash price. Obviously inflated because it was like right after Christmas, but this was still a really great deal, especially for the time of year that we were booking this flight. I transferred 10,000 built points over to Alaska Mileage Plan to cover costs for the 2 of us. We weren't able to move 9,000 over because I'm only a lowly built Blue member. It was still worth it, and we'll probably use Alaska again to book more flights, so those remaining miles will eventually get used. I also paid the taxes and fees for these award bookings with the Bilt card to reach the minimum 5 transactions needed every single month to get points from card spend. All right, so those were all the cards that I used to book these flights, and now let's talk about getting to the airport. I typically prefer to take Metro because it's, well, frankly, it's much cheaper than taking an Uber, and I live close to DCA, and I'm willing to suffer on the Metro to get to Dulles because it's really, really expensive to take rideshare all the way out there. However, as much as I love Metro, it is not open 24/7, and unfortunately, sometimes I do need to get to the airport earlier than the metro even opens, so I'm forced to take rideshare. That will probably be the case for one of our flights, assuming we don't change anything, so luckily, I do have some backup options. The first one is my new American Express Gold Card. I can subsidize a Uber ride with the $10 a month credit that you can use for either Uber rides or Uber Eats, and in this case, it would make a somewhat pricey Uber a little less expensive. Now, alternatively, and my more preferred option would actually be using Altitude Reserve real-time rewards to cover the cost of the rideshare with points. And now I can redeem these at 1.5 cents per point for rideshare, and I'm able to earn these points fairly consistently through mobile wallet spend, so this would definitely be the better option. Not to mention I'm also already prepaying for the gold Uber benefit anyway, so not exactly saving money there when you really think about it, but with the Altitude Reserve, I definitely would be. So I should probably save up some points between now and then, just so I'm covered on all bases. Now, once I arrive to the airport, this is where things kind of kick up a notch, because we're, again, like I illustrated at the beginning of this video, we're stuck with everybody else. It's gonna be a complete nightmare for Thanksgiving, at least, because we're flying a couple days before, and everybody else has that same great idea. Now, luckily for us, we'll be able to skip the line at TSA. Well, not quite skip the line, but instead, we'll be going through the TSA PreCheck checkpoint rather than the general locations on either end of the airport, and we will be able to get through, hopefully, a lot quicker. Even if it's not as fast, it'll still be less painful. We won't have to take off our shoes or anything like that, so that'll be great, and I have that covered through 3 different cards, although I only use 2 of them for this because, well, I only have 2 people to cover right now. The first would be the Venture X, which offers the credit for TSA PreCheck global entry. We use that for my partner, and then I have covered myself with the US Bank Altitude Reserve. We both have global entry, but since we're not leaving the country, that isn't going to matter too much for the holidays. But what it does do is it gives us TSA PreCheck. Once we make it past TSA PreCheck, it's time to get out of the main terminal and get away from the chaos, because there's gonna be chaos. Have I mentioned that already? And so to do that, we're gonna use lounge access from 3 of my cards. I have the Venture X, the Altitude Reserve, and the United Explorer, all of which can get me into different types of lounges. So for me, the Venture X features Capital One lounge access at Washington Dulles IAD, as well as access to the newly opened Capital One landing at DCA. And so since I'm flying out of DCA for Thanksgiving, I'm super excited to try out this landing. It's basically a half lounge, half restaurant concept. It seems really cool, and the food looks amazing. It's a collaboration between Capital One and Jose Andres, who is a world-renowned chef that happens to be from the DMV area, and he has a lot of great restaurants. So I'm excited to try his food in sort of like an airport-style setting and see how it holds up to his actual restaurants. Capital One Venture X cardholders get free entry to this landing, as well as Capital One lounges, obviously, and you get free food off of the menu at landings and free food that's available at the lounge. But for this landing, it's a little different. You sit down at a restaurant table, essentially, and you order off the menu, and that's free. But the grab-and-go section of this landing lounge is not, actually. Capital One announced that Venture X and Venture X Business credit card holders will get 50% off of Grab and Go, but it won't be free, which is frankly really annoying. For a card that costs me $395 a year, I am disappointed in this, but it's not a deal breaker for me. I'm just glad to have access to a lounge at DCA now, because before this landing opened, I was pretty much out of luck, for the most part. And then because we're flying out of Dulles for Christmas, we'll be able to go back to the Capital One Lounge. I've been there several times. The food is always great. I do like the drinks as well. And it's a nice, quiet place most of the time. It can get pretty busy, and sometimes there's a wait and things like that. But overall, great lounge, and I'm really excited to try out the landing at DCA. And beyond the Capital One lounge scene, there's also access to Priority Pass and Plaza Premium lounges as well. And of course, this also includes one visit per year for cardholders to the various Chase lounges in the US. Well, you get to go to one, choose your location wisely. And of course, I'd rather use the one visit per year at the Boston Sapphire Lounge just because it is supposed to be really, really nice and also quite a bit bigger than the Sapphire Lounge location that we have at Washington Dulles. Now, speaking of Boston lounges, because the Sapphire Lounge is super, super popular and, we might not be able to get in, especially because they're going to prioritize Sapphire Reserve cardholders over people with their one Priority Pass visit, we have to have a backup option. And that's going to be my United Club passes that I get every single year from the United Explorer card. I picked up this card at the beginning of this month, and in case we are out of luck and we don't want to try out the Priority Pass Lounge at Boston, we can try to use these 2 passes for either Thanksgiving or Christmas time travel. And then lastly, as an absolute last resort, I also have Priority Pass restaurant access through my Altitude Reserve card. We get 8 visits per year, and these are technically for Priority Pass lounges as well, but because I have unlimited access, it feels like a waste to burn the Altitude Reserve ones, so I reserve those, see what I did there, for Priority Pass restaurant access only. I've used 4 of them already this year, but there should be plenty left in case we need to use them for holiday travel. All right, so picture this. We've camped out in a lounge for close to 2 or 3 hours, and it's time to go to the gate. We make our way over, and it's time to board. For my American flights, I'm out of luck. There's no getting around that. We're going to be boarding in the last group. Same for Delta, whatever. But for my one United flight, I'm going to be traveling a lot better. We're going to get priority boarding from the United Explorer card, as well as 1 free checked bag per person. So I'm not going to be checking a bag, but I imagine my partner will, and that will be nice to take off some of the costs there, especially for a already costly season of the year. Thankfully, we didn't need to buy the flights with the United Explorer to get the free checked bag because there is a 90-day grace period from when you first open the card to when you have to start using it to get the free check bags. All right, so that is pretty much my travel wallet for this quarter, but there are a couple of more smaller things that I wanted to touch on that I'll be using throughout the rest of this quarter when it comes to like gift giving and things like that, very festive things with credit cards. So the first one is my new American Express Gold Card. Now that I've knocked out the United Explorer welcome offer, I'm turning my attention to that sweet, sweet 100,000 membership rewards points welcome offer that I need to spend $6,000 in 6 months for. Of course, I'm going to be using my $10 a month Uber credit and my $10 dining credit for like Grubhub, whatever, but I'm also going to be using my $84 a year, $7 a month Dunkin' credit and $50 biannually Resi credits. I'm hoping I can use the Resi credit for a family member just because I almost break even with the annual fee with the Uber, dining, and Dunkin' credits alone, missing $1 here. So I'm happy to use the Resi credit as a gift, and this allows me to do something nice for somebody without having to worry about it too much. Like American Express is going to cover this, and it's going to be a great experience. And along those same lines, I'm also going to be gifting a global entry membership to a family member from my United Explorer card. Because I'm already covered, my partner's already covered, and we still have 1 more to use. And it's, use it or lose it. So I'd much rather have it go to somebody who is considering getting global entry and not having to pay for it out of pocket. Because, well, that's kind of sad. So I'm looking forward to using that. Hopefully they can get an appointment at some point soon, but we'll see because those global entry interviews can take forever. Well, that'll do it for my wallet, guys. I am really stacking on the annual fees here, but so far it has been worthwhile. If you want to hear a little bit more about my 2024-2025 strategy and where I'm at with that, then I suggest you watch this video next, where I get into all of it, and you'll see how I'm going to be adding one more really expensive card, probably early next year. As always, guys, I've been Josh, and thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.